Hey guys, I want us to talk about relating hundredths and decimals. If you remember last week when we talked about our knows and need to knows for decimals, we decided that decimals are really just another way to write fractions. And that's what I want us to concentrate on today is how can we make decimals look like fractions and how can we write fractions so that they look like decimals and how are the two related. And we're going to use some decimal models like the flats on the base 10 blocks. We'll use the place value chart that we've been using in class, and we'll also use a number line like we used last Friday. But first, to get us a situation and some context, let's look at a problem from our textbook. If you'll notice here, we have a problem about the Olympic Games from 2008. So a long time ago, a couple of Olympics ago. And in the 2008 Summer Olympic Games, the winning time in the men's 100-meter butterfly race was only 1/100th of a second faster than the second place time. What decimal represents this fraction of a second? So you see, we do have a fraction right here, 1/100th of a second. So how can we write a 1/100th as a decimal? Well, let's look at the first way we can do it. The first way we can do it is to use a decimal model like we've done before with the base 10 blocks. So if I have this decimal model here, and I want to make my pen just a little bit bigger, I have a decimal model here and there are 10 rows of 10 squares. Well, that makes 100 equal parts. So one of these little squares makes 1/100th. And so if I want to show 1/100th, all I have to do is pick one little square out and shade it. So I'm just going to pick out this little square right here on the top. And I'm going to shade that guy in right there, just like that. Well, that's 1/100th of this model. What does that look like as a decimal? We've already done this before. We know what it looks like. We have to write a 0 and then our decimal point, and there are no tenths and 1/100th. So we have 1/100th, and we read it that way, 1/100th. Well, what about the other side? What do we put over here? Well, we have a place value chart, just like we did on our anchor chart, just like we did on the whiteboard. Either way, we have the place value chart, and 1/100th is 100th. So 0 ones and 0 tenths and 100th. And we write that just the same way, 0 and 0 tenths and 100th. And again, we read it 100th. Easy enough, right? All right, well, let's go down and look at the number line. How can that work? Ooh, these don't want to stay here. We better get rid of these pen marks here. Let me erase those. And there we go. We got clean paper, and we can go back to our writing. Here we have a number line. Now, this ought to look very familiar to you because I did something like this on Friday in class on the big whiteboard. We had 0 to 10, and then I zoomed in on 0 to 1, and I divided that into 10 pieces. And that's what we've done here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pieces. But look what they've done here. They've divided the 10 pieces into 10 pieces, which I could have done too. But in the interest of time, I did not. So here we have hundredths because 10 tens, or 10 pieces of 10, we have 10 times 10, and that makes 100. So this is 1/100th, 2/100ths, 3/100ths, 4/100ths, 5/100ths, 6/100ths, 7/100ths, 8/100ths, 9/100ths, and 10/100ths. It's the same thing as 1/10, but we're writing it as 10/100ths because we've divided it into hundredths. And we have the same thing here at 20/100ths, and we can go on down the line. Here's 0 and 30/100ths, 0 and there's 40/100ths. There's my decimal, 50/100ths, 60 hundredths. And you can see how this is going. It just goes on down the page just in the same way. All I'm doing is writing how many hundredths it is on the right side of the decimal point. So you see I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and 90 hundredths all the way to 100 100ths, or 1 whole. So what this means is that if I write 100th as a decimal like this, it names the same amount as the fraction 1/100th. So we know that the winning time in the 2008 butterfly was 1/100th of a second faster. 1/100th of a second. That's fast. That's not much time at all. That's a hair's difference. That's how fast that is, and that's how we write fractions as decimals. And that's what I need you to do as you continue in your grid art project. You're going to write all of those numbers as a fraction of 100 and then write them as decimals. And I hope this video will help you to figure that out. Y'all have a good evening and good luck on your grid art projects.